Who should lead in a relationship, the man or the woman?
The man.
Okay.
And the man.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, in what aspect, like, are the men that like, there's could be like several different topics on this. Like when it comes to like the family, like household, like inside the household, like the man also still runs things. Is that like across the board that the man's supposed to make all the calls? Because I think on different situations,
Yeah, pretty much across the board. I mean, I think that
final authority.
Yeah, like I think that women should have some discretion when it comes to, man's out of the house and there's the children are hungry, feed them, right? Like you don't need to check with him. Is it okay to feed the kids lunch, sort of thing, right? Like it's not about him running it all the time, but in a relationship, who should lead the relationship? Should it be equal? Should the woman lead it? Should the man lead it? Does anybody
Luna,
think
you had a problem with this last week? Luna had a problem with men making rules last week. Do you want to touch on that?
Okay.
Do you want to talk about that again this week?
I think that it is fine and good, and for me personally, it's preferable for like the man to be in like a leadership position and say maybe make like the final decisions or lead the way basically. But I mean, I think that my opinion should be considered and it should be discussed and communicated. And we talked about it last week, the whole like who will make the compromise. And like I think it's fine for women to compromise with the man. If the man wants to do something, the woman doesn't. I think you just need to figure that out like per individual case.
What was the issue that we had last week?
But I just find that whenever you make rules, we were talking about rules, I find that if, say you're the man and you say, okay, I have the authority, I think that you can do this, this, and that, you cannot do this and that. And I think that mentality can become harmful. I'm not saying it's always harmful, but I'm saying it can become harmful because it could be like micromanaging to where like, say you're the woman and you are so worried, like you're not even sure if you're following all the rules correctly, if your man's going to be angry at you because you're not pleasing him precisely. And like, but I mean, I think it's just more, like I said, individual case. I think some people are more nitpicky than others. Some are more controlling than others. But I guess initially, I think it was the moth was just like kind of like reminding me of this like controlling personality of like others that I see. I can see that personality type in others.
Let's get the one thing clear, because we keep coming. I can't stand this aspect when we get into these conversations where we treat every human being in every situation like it's so different from the others. Let's get one thing clear. Women are only going after a certain type of man. They're going after a man who can get things done. They're going after a high testosterone man that leads, that says, this is how this is going to go. You have no time or patience for a man that can't be decisive, who can't get things done, who won't lead you in a relationship and won't take on that role. So all of these guys are like, oh, yeah, I guess you can go out to the club and I guess you can go out dancing with your girlfriends. Those dudes are out because you're not looking at them anyway. So that only leaves one category of men, and a man that knows how to lead a relationship, and he understands that most women, when left to their own devices, make terrible decisions when it comes down to what they do in their free time, who they spend their time with, what passions they choose to do, with the way they talk about spending their free time. And a man needs to be in that leadership position. And a man that's got it going on and a man that has options is absolutely going to make rules for that relationship. And that's just the way that it is. I mean, I don't know how much more clear I can make it. But men who command authority in relationships do so because they're the kind of guy that you want. You want this masculine high T man making all this money that is just going to let you do whatever the hell you want. He's going to let you go show your ass on camera on OnlyFans, or he's going to let you go and be an entrepreneur instead of taking care of your kids. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills on this show. If that's the man you want, this is what you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, to Moff's point, and it's interesting because I hear life's complicated. I'm talking to a guy. I'm in a relationship. I broke up, whatever. But it's like not a single one of you has made it clear that you understand the wants, needs, and desires of the guy that you want to be with, unless you want to keep rotating through losers, right? If your plan is to rotate through losers or to be single, then you should keep doing what you're doing because it's definitely the way to go. But if you want to lock down some guy that's going to commit to you, I heard things like, I don't want to be with an F boy. I want to make sure he doesn't have a high notch count, that he's committed, that he's like father, husband type of material. But I'm not hearing anything from the gals on the show tonight that's making it clear that you're the kind of guy that this man would want to choose, or sorry, that you're the kind of gal that this man would want to choose, sort of thing, right? Like, no guy that's worth 8 figures gives a shit about your idea for your, for your business. He doesn't care, right? Like, the number one thing that he's going to care about is your past, because your number one thing that you care about is this a good man? What does his future look like? Can he make money? Does he know how to solve problems? Is he competent? Does he have a good social network, right? Like, you're looking at his future, and he's looking at you going, well, what's this chick's past like? Are my kids going to see pictures of her asshole on the internet when they're 7 years old and their, elementary school, friends are asking them about that kind of stuff? Are they going to hear about mom being promiscuous and being through, a whole bunch of guys? I haven't heard a single woman tonight say that it's really important for me to preserve my value.
No, I would agree with that.
Right? It's really important for me to understand culinary skills so I can feed this man when he comes home after putting out fires all day long and doing stuff. You don't need 2 cook like chefs in the kitchen, just like you don't need 2, drivers in the driver's seat out there, sort of thing. I think that one of the things that we've lost in the world today is the notion that there's blue jobs and there's pink jobs, and that men are really good at blue jobs and women are really good at pink jobs. And we should accept, the differences and promote them as much as possible. But like, the idea of like chasing careers and open up restaurants and nightclubs, I don't want anything to do with a chick that wants to run a fucking nightclub.
Someone will.
No, most guys would not give a flying fuck, to be honest.
And Maria, but the point is, though, the point we're trying to make.
And I'm not saying that just to pick on you,
guy,
but it's like, yeah, go ahead, Mom.
What we keep coming back to is the kind of guy that is going to be okay taking care of kids while you go and chase your entrepreneurial dreams, or staying home, or giving you the money for your startup, or whatever it might be. Yes, there are guys out there that will do that, but the reason they'll do that is because they don't have any other options and they don't have any other choice otherwise. Guys will make concessions for women that they never would have gotten a chance with otherwise. You're a very good looking woman. I can obviously see why you're in nightlife. But it's that you get attention from these high level, high value guys every day that I'm sure. But somebody that's got his own thing taken care of, the kind of guy that you're going after, and the kind of guy that most women are going after, especially even ones on this panel, they're not setting their time aside and their obligations and duties in their business aside so you can neglect having children and go be an entrepreneur. That's the thing we keep trying to drive home with the women that come on the show, is like, yes, there are men out there that will let you do whatever you want in a relationship. There's guys that will lay down and be a doormat for you. It's not the guy you want. You think you want that. It all comes back to women thinking they want this guy that's going to let them have free reign, do whatever they want to do, make decisions, do what they think is best for them, not draw any boundaries. And then they wonder why they don't respect their husband, or they wonder why they're with this weak loser that never tells them no, that never draws any boundaries and says, no, you're not going to do that. You have obligations, or you have children to take care of, or I have needs as the leader and the man in the relationship and as the provider. I know it's not an easy thing, because on one hand, it's like, well, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to settle for losers? No. Well, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to not go after the high value men? Well, it's something you kind of have to decide for yourself. But this idea that women can have everything, you can have the alpha dominant guy who's rich and knows how to get things done in this world, at the same time lets you run free and chase every little vocation and dream instead of doing things that are going to move the relationship forward. It's all a fantasy. It's fairy dust. It's fugazi. It doesn't exist. And that's just the reality. And again, I don't expect anybody to listen to this, and it's okay. I mean, it's perfectly fine. We've done this show enough times to know what the answer is going to be, but that's just the way we see it.
I agree with you on a lot of that stuff.
Good, because it's true. I mean, ladies, I've talked to lots of very successful guys, athletes, C-suite guys, politicians, like very, very successful men, good-looking men, tall men, rich men. And the sorts of stuff that you're all describing, they want nothing to do with it. Zero, zip, zilch. All right. They entertain far better, more suited options than like the notion of I want to chase whatever, I want to climb this degree, frame it, I want to get this business going, money, chasing, like the thing that women miss today that's incredibly important, that I think is probably one of the most overlooked things, is the preservation of your value. Like the whole stuff that Jackie has to do with these, with these chicks that have to become born again virgins, that might work in their head, but you can't avoid the consequences of your past, right? You can pretend that they don't exist, but you can't avoid that they exist. And I think that it's a great lie that people believe today that women should be doing all of these things for everybody. Like, let's adopt children and let's get a nightclub running and run a nail salon and get a degree and be a mother and learn how to cook. And how the fuck are you going to do all that and do the one thing that you're put on this planet to do, which is have children? You can't. And I think that you've all been lied to and fed this bullshit narrative that you can get away with whatever you want for as long as you want, as long as there's some guy out there that'll look past it. And you're right. There's loads of nerds out there that'll look past all of this crap. There's loads of them, but they're not the kind of guy that you're going to want to be with into perpetuity. They're not the kind of guy that you're going to want to commit to for the next 60 years of your life. Right? Do y'all understand what I'm saying here? These are some incredibly frustrating conversations and stories that I'm hearing tonight.
I guess I have a lot to say, but I know we only have 5 minutes, so I don't really want to.
No, we can keep going. I mean, I can go for another 30 minutes if you guys want to keep ripping. All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.